Hello! In this video, we'll look at the FAA's Controller Pilot Data Link Communications, or CPDLC, in the en route environment. These services allow pilots to receive clearances and make requests to air traffic control digitally. CPDLC is expected to reduce communication time between controllers and pilots, improve rerouting around weather and traffic congestion, increase flexibility, increase accommodation of user requests, and enable next-gen trajectory-based operations. This results in reduced flying time, fuel savings, and a positive environmental impact. We'll cover the basics of logging on, session or ATC comm establishment, and show the most common clearances to expect in U.S. domestic airspace. In all cases, be sure to follow the appropriate regulations, FAA guidance, and company procedures. Before entering a U.S. domestic air route traffic controlled center with active CPDLC service, a session must be established by logging on to KUSA. For the latest information on active CPDLC centers, flight plan filing guidance, and when to log on, check the website in the link shown here. We'll start by following Flight Gulfstream 1, already underway to North Carolina's Raleigh-Durham International Airport and approaching an active en route CPDLC center. To log on, select ATC on the MCDU or ATC logon screen of the FMS. We start by entering KUSA in the Logon To field. This logon is used for all U.S. domestic CPDLC services. Next, input the flight ID exactly as it appears on the flight plan. For example, Gulfstream 1. If the field is not already populated, enter the tail number. Like the flight ID, this needs to match the filed flight plan exactly. If the flight ID or the tail number does not exactly match what was filed on the flight plan, the ATC system will not establish a session with KUSA. Pay special attention to ensuring that the full flight ID and tail number are entered exactly as they appear on the filed flight plan. If you get it wrong, don't worry, the ATC system allows for multiple logon attempts. To initiate the logon, press the Send button. After doing so, the words Accepted and ATC comm established appear. The active center will also appear as KUSA. When approaching the active center's airspace, the flight will be handed off to the CPDLC center using standard voice communication. A chime alert indicates that a CPDLC welcome message has been received. This audible alert is accompanied by the words ATC message in the scratch pad, or on some models, this alert is displayed in the Engine Indications and Crew Alerting System, or ICAS. Be sure to always accept the welcome message and make your initial check-in with the center over voice. You're now ready to use CPDLC to communicate. Remember, CPDLC supplements voice. You can always use voice communications to contact ATC if a clearance is unclear or when other issues arise. The first CPDLC clearance received instructs this flight to climb to and maintain flight level 340. After review of the message and concurring with the other crew member, send the appropriate response. To accept the message, press Send associated with Accept. To reject the message, send Reject and add the optional reason if desired. Keep in mind the CPDLC system does not allow rejection for reasons other than performance or weather. After accepting the message, comply with the ATC clearance as instructed. Our flight is approaching some traffic that requires a reroute. Our flight just received a CPDLC clearance, clearing it direct to bird, a fix that is on the route of flight. Some messages, such as this one, include a reason for the clearance. In this case, ATC has advised that our change in route is due to traffic. After reviewing the message, load it into the FMS. Review the change in route on the navigation display. After loading, executing, and accepting the route amendment, be sure to comply with the new clearance. On some aircraft, such as an Airbus, loading isn't an option for this message. Simply enter the clearance directly into the FMS and make the change in the route. Our flight is approaching the next sector within the same en route center. Handoffs are performed using the Contact CPDLC message. Acknowledge the message to contact the next sector within New York Center, tune the radio, and contact the next controller over voice. From this point on, we can resume the use of CPDLC to communicate. It looks like there is some weather ahead. Let's send a request to proceed direct to the fixed white to avoid the weather. This request is made from the ATC request page. Remember, ATC will not take your request if you include any additional free text with the request. You can select the following reasons for your request: for performance or weather. The controller has approved our request and has cleared us direct to white. We can now execute and accept the clearance the same way we did before. Our flight is about to be handed off to the next center. Handoffs to a bordering center are performed using the Contact CPDLC message. Acknowledge the message over CPDLC, tune the radio, and contact the next controller over voice. From this point on, we can resume the use of CPDLC to communicate. Today is a busy weather day. Our flight has received a new route clearance. Review the new clearance and use the next page function to read it in its entirety. This revision has changed a portion of our route of flight. Load the clearance into the FMS and review the changes to the route. Then be sure to press Execute. Now that we have loaded, reviewed, and executed our new route, press Accept and ensure compliance with the new clearance. In other situations, you may receive a simple change to the transition, arrival procedure, or a completely new route clearance. On some aircraft configurations, pilots must manually load the arrival procedure into their FMS for clearances that contain arrival procedures. If this applies, the clearance received will contain a reminder to perform this step. Our flight is now approaching our destination. Our next handoff will be to the TRACON. CPDLC services are not provided in approach airspace, so we can expect to say our digital goodbyes and go back to standard voice communication. A CPDLC message has been received and instructs us to contact Raleigh Approach. After reviewing the message, tune in the frequency, then press Accept. Complete the transfer of communications via voice by performing the initial check-in with the approach controller. The scratch pad then shows ATC comm terminated. We've covered the basics of CPDLC within the en route environment. These examples are not intended to replace those found in your company's standard operating procedures, FAA regulations, or other FAA guidance. We hope this video provides a basic understanding of how these new CPDLC services are used in the en route environment. For details around these new services being offered by the FAA and other standard CPDLC guidance, please visit our website. Thanks for watching.